Yeah, man, like I said, at this point, he's practically an honorary member of the C3 Legion. He does fantastic work for the Charlotte Observer with Mike K. You know him, you love him. He's here to break down all the chaos and the monotony that just went down today from the Panthers cutting down to their final 53-man roster. C3 Legion, give a warm round of applause for our friend Alex Zietlow back on the C3 Panthers podcast. Alex, what's up, brother?
What's up? What's up? Thank you so much. I feel this is the warmest welcome I've received, perhaps ever. Thank you so much, and I appreciate y'all embracing me, even though my name starts with an A. I know it's a big deal here. So,
well, so does Tony's.
Yeah, actually, I am, and I'm going back.
That's actually a good point.
In my new life. Yeah. It's C3 is a kind of a weird thing. Is it's actually because of the Carolina Cat Chronicles. This was supposed to be a website to start. And then there were the 3 C's. Then there were 3 people that did it, and then we just rock with it because it's a cool hashtag and easy to say. Alex, the Panthers trimmed down their roster. I guess it was 4:00 was the deadline to get to that magic number of 53. And like CK alluded to, is that maybe sometimes in the past there have been more bubble guys, but it didn't feel like as many outside maybe 5, 6, 7 people you think that were up in the air. And it's always like this to a certain degree, is that they're the guys that you built the team with. They're penciled, almost pinned in. I know that they love to say that camp is about competition, but it's only really about competition for those final back 8 slots. Coming into today, a couple of moves before that. What stood out to you as the Panthers finalized their roster?
Wow. Okay, massive question. I think we should just go ahead and address the elephant in the room, the Hunter Renfrow thing along the wide receiver core. And the thing that I want to say about that is this. I personally thought that Hunter Renfrow was like a near lock to make the team, particularly after that first week of camp where he was making the most plays along the receiving core. Yes, he was taking some receptions from Andy Dalton, but Bryce was looking at him too. He had this hamstring thing pop up on him about a week into training camp right before the Cleveland Browns joint practice. And we asked Dave about his injury, and Dave was like, well, we talked to him and he said if the regular season started tomorrow, he'd be willing to play, or he'd be able to play. And so when you hear that kind of messaging from the coach, you're like, okay, the head coach is like considering this guy as part of the team's future. 2 weeks go by. The injury lingers a little bit longer than we all thought it would. And this guy named Bryson Tmaine just comes out of relative obscurity. Yeah. I mean, he kind of stuck out for a variety of reasons. He was really tall, 6'4", and that's really tall in this wide receiver room that has just a whole bunch of sizes across the board. And he had a previous relationship with Brad Idzik. He was a walk-on. Bryson Tmaine is actually a wonderful story. He was a walk-on at Stanford. Brad Idzik was a graduate assistant at Stanford and recruited him essentially and said, hey, we really want you to be a preferred walk-on here, even though Bryson had offers at Ivy League schools and stuff. He really wanted to go to Stanford and he played, ultimately got a scholarship there and worked his butt off to get into the NFL and kind of overachieved everywhere he's been. But still coming into camp, we knew him because he was tall and because he in NFL regulation games, he had -2 reception yards. In other words, we have more NFL receiving yards than he does. And that's I don't exactly know how that happened, but he's only played in 2 games, and both of them were with the Commanders last year. So there were all these weird things about him. But then when you saw him on the field, you're like, wait, he's just as fast as these other guys. Wait, he has this height, this intangible thing. Wait, he's making receptions. He's catching He's not just catching 5-yard outs. He's catching touchdown passes from Andy Dalton. There was one training camp where he caught 2 touchdown passes in the span of 5 minutes. And final thing about Bryson, and then I'll shut up. the front office of the Panthers do actually pay a lot of attention to training camp. And Tony, I completely hear you when you say, yeah, like performance at training camp only really applies to a few guys. And while that's true, that's definitely true for Brant Tillis. Brant Tillis is this guy from Kansas City who in 2020 found a diamond in the rough named Turk Wharton. And Turk was like this undrafted guy from a Division II college, somehow played his way onto the Kansas City Chiefs roster and became like an integral part of that defensive line with Chris Jones, won Super Bowls, whatever. And now Turk's on the Panthers because Brant has a relationship with them and all these things. But the reason why Brant put Turk on that roster was because Turk was undeniable at training camp. And Brant essentially says, yo, we wouldn't have any credibility with this team if we don't give this guy a roster spot, because we're constantly preaching, your work will be rewarded, your performance will be rewarded. If we don't give Turk a roster spot in Kansas City in 2020, we're not going to have any credibility with that team. Well, I think that same thinking is applied to Bryson Tmaine, and that's ultimately why the team decided to go with 7 wide receivers and have Bryson to be one of those 7. And just, I guess, one of those 8 had to be kind of left out. And that guy was Hunter Renfrow. Whether you agree with that or not, I think that's the thinking there.
Yeah, I guess I'll jump in here next here, Alex. How much of this was decisions based on whether or not they were or weren't able to move Adam Thielen? The rumor mill was absolutely abuzz that there was going to be a potential trade of Adam Thielen back to the Minnesota Vikings. It seems as though that maybe there was some holdups on compensation and what each individual party would get in this trade. How much legitimacy was there to that? And how much did that impact the final decisions that they made in the wide receiver room?
Yeah, it's a good question. Adam Schefter went on Pat McAfee earlier today and essentially said that there has been no movement between Adam's representation and the Vikings. I'm under the impression that the Vikings were the only team interested in trading for Adam Thielen. And I mean, that might sound obvious, but if the Panthers were truly in the trade market, there might be other buyers and stuff, but I think that is the case. Secondly, you got to remember Adam Thielen is probably the best receiver still on this wide receiver core. I don't think it's
proven, at least
most proven. I truly don't think it's that controversial to say that he is the best right now. I mean, Teteroa McMillan has all the talent in the world to be.
I agree with this.
But like he had a renaissance in that moribund 2023 when nothing on this offense was working. Adam Thielen was working. Over 100 catches, over 1,000 yards. If Adam didn't have like a crazy big injury last year, he would probably I think he still was the leading receiver, and he probably could have had another 1,000-yard season. So the Panthers aren't just gonna give him up for I don't know, a 5th-round pick, a 6th-round pick. I'm not super well versed in the trade compensation that has been thrown around there, but I'd imagine that the Panthers would want a player and like a 4th, 5th-round pick. I don't know how rich I don't know if that's too rich, but whatever. Like the point is that Adam is really valuable to this room and to this team, really. And like, so to your point, Cody, I don't know if that impacted the Hunter Renfrow decision, but I do know that having Adam in the Panthers wide receiver room did, it forced somebody out. Because
I think it's also was part of the plan, Alex, like from the beginning, is that while you're going to invest in Tet to be the exciting rookie, you got a 2nd-year player, that proven commodity, the kind of the leadership role, the him negotiating with the Panthers to come back, essentially. All of that makes sense that the Panthers, to me, it never made sense for the Panthers to want to let him go, and that the compensation would be more than probably anybody's truly willing. I don't think the Panthers were ready to just roll the dice with completely unproven players, and arguably detracting from how good the room was. But this is where the thing got a little bit of wild today on the internet, or at least maybe it was. I think it was today. I saw it, and it was when Adam.
It was posted yesterday, but it really went more viral today than it did yesterday.
So this is Adam Thielen's wife who posted. We do know that the importance of faith towards Adam, like with Adam Thielen. So I mean, I don't believe that they're using these words completely lightly in a sense. As just lip service. But the post came up trying to trust God's plan, even when you want something and pray for something so hard. He ultimately has final say, and some things are out of control. Now, I want to be fair to Miss Thielen in this, is that her prayers and Adam Thielen's prayers may not be the same, and maybe she missed home or something to that effect. But this kind of did intimated, like, to some people, or at least, is that there was like a desire for him to go back home. To go to this for this to actually work out. This is where it got fanned. The flames, I think, or the rumor mill got going more. Not rumor mill, but it's just beyond just the football component of this. And then it brought to light the personal nature of this. Have you guys, has this made any, not rounds, but do you guys, from a journalistic standpoint, does this influence, or do you think that this reveals anything about the situation?
It's truly hard to say. I mean, in full disclosure, that's the first time I actually saw that Instagram story.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, that does kind of show that he wants to, or at least the Thielen family.
That's how it felt to most Panther fans for the majority of today and yesterday. That it was like, not only was there a desire to trade him, but there was a desire for him to want to go back to Minnesota.
Or this actually just to work out, right? Not even that he thought from the beginning when he came back to Carolina that was in the mix, but all of a sudden this comes about, and it's like, oh man,
it's like storybook type of situation in his mind. See, in the flames to the fire is I think Adam Schefter on Pat McAfee said that, I believe it was that he also stated that Adam Thielen is interested in going back to Minnesota as well. And so there was an official report from an insider that said that Adam Thielen was like the idea of going back. So it's the problem I have with this mindset is we're being looked at from, obviously Vikings perspective, and many Panthers fans like we're villains and holding him back from going back to the Panthers. I sincerely believe that we price him for what we're willing to get rid of him. So as an example, when it comes to concert tickets, so I'm a big proponent of buying a ticket that I really, really want, and I list it for a price that's going to force me not to go. And if somebody wants to buy it, they can, but I want to go. I want to take and sit in these seats. And I think that's what the Panthers are doing here, right? They're like, hey, listen, the price is this. We're willing to take this number if you're willing to take it, but you're going to have to really entice us to get rid of this important figure on our team, because it sounds like there was mutual interest in the trade happening, as long as the compensation was there. In your expectation, Alex, I mean, again, a bit long-winded way to get to this point. Do you get the feeling that this is just the Panthers are asking too much, or do you really believe the Panthers are just like, no?
I don't think that there is to answer your question, I don't think that there's something called too much. I mean, this is the free market. This is the free market. I mean, what the Panthers think that he's worth and the Panthers aren't just making these prices by themselves. They're looking at other teams and how they value certain positions and players, et cetera, and stuff like this. I thought you made a really interesting point about, I don't want I don't want the Carolina Panthers to be seen as the villain in Adam Thielen's story. The Vikings were the ones who released Adam Thielen in March 2023. They're the ones who released him because he saved them a little bit over about $6.4 million on the salary cap. Yeah, I just looked this up. They're the ones who ended the 10-year his season tenure with him because for a variety of reasons. I mean, among them probably he was on
Jordan Addison,
the other half of 30 years. And like they were like, okay, I guess the rest of his career, like the prime of his career, is behind him. Well, he comes to Carolina and he proves that it's absolutely not. And like now the Panthers are expected to give him back without like getting anything in return. I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense, at least. And I know y'all probably agree with me. I don't think that
I do. I think it makes a lot more sense to keep Adam Thielen than to get a 6th-round pick. I think it makes a lot more sense to keep Adam Thielen than to get a 5th-round pick. Is like, and to me, you're not really interested. I'm not interested in the Panthers doing it unless you're talking a pick in a player that really makes the team better in a different position group, and you're willing to go with because you've got enough guys that you think that you might be able to weather the storm. I want to circle back to the Bryson Tmaine story real quick, and that is now look, training camp was not available. We couldn't go, which changed the way that it was covered, right? Is because it almost went back to an old school coverage before the internet of like we're relying on really just the articles that are put out by beat writers like yourself for the real substance, right? Instead of all the instant reactions we get from every single fan that can record a great play. Like if you would have said, like if that would have been last year and the Bryson Tmaine catches 2 touchdowns in the span of 5 minutes, all of a sudden this story is bigger. The internet also, Panthers Twitter, which I have not been as invested in just because of other things going on as much as maybe some in the past, and I do think it's been less informative because of those components, is a gotcha place, right? It's like how many people are gotchaing Cody all day because Renfrow didn't make it, right? Like it's like gotcha. I really believe that there was a ton of coverage. And maybe that's because the Renfrow story had like a good story to it. But like we saw clips of him playing well, like doing good things in training camp. I saw story after story after Hunter Renfrow. I could not remember anybody, do you think there was coverage of this, of Bryson Tmaine, of being anything more than an outsider coming in? Or does it make more sense in the aftermath now? Like now we go, oh, okay, I can kind of see it now.
It's a really good question. So I think that there are 2 parts to this. The first part is, yes, Bryson Tmaine did make several plays in camp. Whether those plays blew up on Twitter or whether they made the lead of an article or whatever,
right,
that's the second part, because we know that most fans are most interested in, okay, what's the chemistry like between T-Mac and Bryce Young? Like who are the pass catchers that Bryce is throwing to? If Bryson is mainly doing things with the second team with Andy Dalton, or in the few times Jack Plummer got in there and threw the ball, like just naturally the reporters aren't paying as much attention to that.
You only have so much space and time and
we're trying to parse out, okay, let's report on the players who are going to make it. And are going to make the team. And so I think, to your point, it's kind of like a perfect storm for a diamond in the rough, at least from the fans' perspective, to be like, wait, who is this guy? And how did he beat out Hunter Renfrow? How did he emerge from this wide receiver room that we were already supposed to have too many guys on?
Yeah.
And now it was like concrete, and so there was no room for a rose to sprout through it. Like, how is that even possible? Like, I totally get that. I mean, we can rationalize it from the rear view mirror the entire way. He's a valuable. I mean, he worked on the special teams crew.
That's the component here. 14 years doing this podcast, what I realized is that most of the guys that are the back end, if you're going to keep 6-7 wide receivers, I mean, arguably you're thinking about how many snaps they're going to get in the regular season unless somebody gets injured. And the name that made the team that has, yes, it's good Twitter fodder for like the connection between Canales and David Moore. But it comes back to the special teams component and where these guys, this is how these guys on the back end can be more than a wide receiver. Final question on that is, because David Moore has a role on special teams, because Bryson Tmaine has this component of a special teams player and youth too. Was Hunter Renfrow not really, were they not really thinking about him? You think of fielding punts? Because I felt like they trotted him out there a couple of times early on, but is that the real kind of difference there, you think?
I don't know if that's the real difference, but I can tell you at the beginning of camp, he was just fielding punts with like a whole bunch of guys, with Raheem Blackshear, with Jimmy Horn Jr., with David Moore. Like, it was a whole bunch of them. And I must say, I do not remember after his injury him being back there. And also, he doesn't have really any other special teams experience besides returner. So, like, if he's not the one catching the kickoffs or catching the punts, I don't exactly – not to say that he couldn't figure it out, but sure. I just don't know. Like, what he would have contributed exactly. So, yeah,
that's how you stay on the roster. I mean, there have been a lot of guys that made a living in the NFL by being special teams players that can play a position if needed. Go ahead, Cody.
Yeah, so I wanted to pivot to another offensive line group, and that's the offensive line. Earlier this week, the Panthers made news by extending Taylor Moton to a 2-year deal. And a lot of Panther fans felt like they might do this earlier in order to shore up some free money. Panther fans thought that maybe they were doing this for a trade. But what do you think took so long to get Taylor Moton's contract done? And what do you think spurred the movement for them to get it done now, as opposed to waiting another year, which they had the opportunity to do?
Were you talking about a Trey Hendrickson trade or a Micah Parsons trade?
Yeah, Trey Hendrickson, Micah Parsons, all the players that Panther fans dream about, or are delusional about, rather.
Yeah, no, I was with y'all at the beginning of this. Like, I'm talking like free agency, when Trey Hendrickson was having his like kerfuffle with the Bengals, and I essentially laid out, hey, this is why the Panthers should try to go after him. And a lot of people didn't agree with me. Oh, he wouldn't fit in Evero's system. Oh, he's like a hand in the dirt pass rusher and the 3-4 that doesn't really work. He can't really be an outside linebacker because he's not as good in space, but he's not great against the run. So what would that be doing opposite Derek Brown? All these things. And I understand that. But when you have like a talent like him on the free agent market, like, you should explore it. That's essentially what I was saying in March. Now, all the way here, I didn't think that the Panthers should do that for a variety of reasons. The defense was already set, all these things, but whatever. But I saw that fodder too. And I was like, man, I love that hope springs eternal in sports, particularly in Canada.
Yeah, me too.
It's so amazing. So to your point about Taylor Moton, I don't exactly know. The long and short of it is, I don't exactly know what took them so long. I personally just assumed that this front office was going to go through this entire year without extending him. And because with the elevated salary cap in going into this year, they had a lot of room to essentially eat that $31 million in salary cap hit or whatever it was of Taylor Moton, and then kind of be on like level playing field when it comes to negotiating and all these things. Now the Panthers, because they've signed him, because they've extended him, have essentially given him some leverage in future negotiations. But here's the thing. Taylor Moton's been really good. Yeah. And for as much as there was to do about his chronic knee issues, he's still always on the field. Like, the first time he missed any time was last year. And so, like, I don't know. He told reporters today that he feels like a rookie again, and from a health perspective, not from a mental perspective, but from a health perspective. And that's really great news. He has that spry. He has that jump. He is going to be the right tackle on what I think will be one of the top 10 offensive lines in the NFL this coming year. So, if they believe in his health and they believe that he can be part of this offensive line, not only in 2025, but in 26 and 27, like, why not just sign him and get ahead of it and not have to worry about this free agency talk, not have to worry about this contract holding over him, because he's expressed that he wants to be in Carolina. So the timing is interesting, because if you were going to do this, why didn't you just do this sooner? But maybe he needed to prove to them that he's healthy. I don't exactly know. But this is good news if you're a Panthers fan.
Cody, excuse me. There recently was a comment in the chat that, not tonight, but like on the past of one of our videos, and it said, Tony, they called me out and they said, why you don't prep enough for the show? I was like, well, first, we get all these different things, as everybody's got an opinion. I understand that. Two, I've been doing the podcast for 14 years. I watch it. I've watched the team every play. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what kind of preparation I got to do for a fan podcast. Fan, not a journalist, right? In a sense. But there was, and you guys can help me with this. And so I'm setting that up, Cody, for a question for Alex is Thomas Nkoum made this team. And is this person going to tell me I didn't prep enough to know who this guy is for a guy that who had,
dude, last week that was me talking about Bryson Tmaine.
Right.
Well, who is Bryson Tmaine?
I think that's fine. I think it's fair. It's like one of these is like, I get that. Look, the internet is like boom, 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 boom. But Thomas Nkoum is undrafted, signed with the Denver. This is his Wikipedia page for his professional career. After going undrafted in 2023 NFL draft, Nkoum signed with the Denver Broncos as undrafted free agent. Nkoum appeared in 4 games with the Broncos, recording 1 tackle against Miami in a Denver loss and assisting on a tackle against Detroit, also a Denver loss. On August 27th, he's waived by the Broncos. The Panthers, August 28th, was signed to the practice squad, promoted to the active, last year, promoted to the active roster on October 8th, waived on the 30th. Alex, am I just completely unprepared for not knowing anything about Nkoum or why he's on this team? And I'm not saying he shouldn't be on this team, but
Tony, do not know. No,
okay.
You are completely inadequately fine. Let's take out Thomas Nkoum for a second. Last year, they had so much attrition among those front 7 on the defensive side of the ball. Like, I remember them starting Jacoby Windman, I want to say, against the Saints last year. I could be wrong about that. And me having to be like, oh, yeah, Mike wrote, had 1 bullet point in one of his notebooks on, a Thursday one time about him. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Because that's just football. There are 53 guys who make the active roster, but then there are another 16 on the practice squad, and those practice squad guys can be elevated at any time.
Who is this guy?
Oh, you're asking me about who Thomas Nkoum is. Okay.
No,
yeah,
I'm not really. I don't think. No, but it's this is the thing is he's ahead on the outside linebacker list on Panthers.com of DJ Johnson. And I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of flack about this, but I really don't know anything, nor really that interested in it. I guess we really just need to talk about when we're on the defense, Shy Tuttle. And that was a name that I don't think was surprising that we actually know.
Right. Yeah. Okay, just real quick on Thomas Nkoum. He had a pretty good camp. He was a pretty good couple preseason games this year. Was really fast off the line, was pretty relentless going after the quarterback. But again, he wasn't going against ones like he was going against twos. So there's only so much stock you can put in that. And while this outside linebacker crew did get a pretty big facelift by the drafting of Nick Scorton and Princely Umanmielen, depth was always going to be a problem. I think that's the easiest rationale for Thomas Incoom. If he starts making plays in the regular season, we'll talk about him more, but
there's a chance he's not on this team in 10 days.
Yes, there's a chance he's not there tomorrow.
Right.
Yes, and that's another point I should have said about the wide receiver room too. Like, having 7 wide receivers is really hard in the NFL. Like, is to say the Panthers had 6 waiver wire additions last year, and like they kept 7 wide receivers on the initial 53, and then the moment that those 6 guys came in, they cut 2 of those wide receivers last year to go down to 5. Keeping 7 wide receivers is really hard too. So it'll, like, I'm watching that wide receiver room as well as I'm watching, DJ Johnson and Thomas Incoom, because DJ Johnson, although he was injured for most of camp, didn't show his 3rd round draft pedigree this camp. So
he didn't have the luxury of being injured in a sense.
No.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, he is a favorite of Evero, so that can take him a long ways. And I mean, we'll see with DJ Johnson. Okay, but you asked about Shy Tuttle.
Yeah.
I mean, look at this defensive line room. You got Derek Brown, who is going to take, if he's healthy, he's going to take, I imagine, pretty much every snap on that defensive side of the ball, or as much as he possibly can. Then you got Bobby Brown, Ashawn Robinson, and Turk Wharton. I think those 4 are going to
we saw it coming.
Yeah, I think those 4 are going to rotate into those other 2 down lineman spots. You got Cam Jackson, who you invested in as a draft pick last year. You got Jaden Crumedy, who you invested in a draft pick in 2024. Like, what did you expect? I mean, like, I don't think that it was necessarily a surprise. That's
not at all. Not at all. In fact, he's just a name that's made the rounds on these fun posts of look at the Scott Fitter moments. We see Deontay Johnson be released by the Browns, CJ Henderson. Like, it's just one of those name fodders that's happened there. Again, they made this message clear, but it's just an actual name that we know.
Right. Yeah. I mean, no, I totally get you. I mean, he took a pay cut to stay here and then gets cut. I believe, but correct me if I'm wrong. He did get picked. Well, anyway.
Yeah, he's with the Titans. He signed a 1-year deal to the Titans already.
Okay, so he's already been picked up by the Titans. So Shy Tuttle will be fine. He had a good career with the Saints prior to coming to Carolina. Like, I guess it just didn't work out here, which is that's how it goes sometimes.
Which there was this fun story too, and go ahead, Cody, because it's really not that important. Is like I read this story, and I'm not gonna be able to find it because it was on my just on my notifications, and it was former Panther defensive tackle picked up by Titans. This is 4 days ago. I think his name was TJ Carter. And they just said, like, in the article, they didn't even mention his first name or initials. It just said Carter. I had to look into the caption of the picture that they put up to figure out who the heck the guy was. Headlines, boy. But now, I guess TJ Carter is now replaced by Shy Tuttle.
So, Alex, there have been some surprises on this roster, but I still think that there are some areas of concern that a lot of fans have, and that's the linebacker room. Dude, it's dangerously thin in terms of name talent. Tony said in the intro of the show that maybe they might make up for cutting a Clemson Tiger and Hunter Renfrow by potentially signing an Isaiah Simmons. Now, there has been no reports of that yet, but not really even just the linebacker room. But do you think there is any specific part of this roster that they might try to fill out further with some moves down the road? Could it be the safety room, the linebacker room? What room do you think could probably, or that we should keep an eye on for Dan Morgan to try to still make some adjustments?
I think the inside linebacker room. I think you're spot on. I think that's the first place. Truth be told, I'm a bit surprised that they cut Chris Barnes. He was this veteran guy who played in Green Bay and spent the last 2 seasons with the Arizona Cardinals, not really getting a whole bunch of run, but proving that when he gets his chance, he's prepared and he's ready. They signed him like within the first week of training camp after the Josie Jewell news, the Josie Jewell departure. And he performed solidly. I mean, for the most part, in the preseason games, it didn't look like he was swimming that much. He was the one calling the plays. If I remember correctly, he had the green dot when the starters weren't there. So I'm a bit shocked that that they moved on from him, because he's like this veteran presence in a group that they very much needed. I mean, look at this inside linebacker group. You got Trevin Wallace, a year 2 guy, Christian Roseboom, who is a veteran, but then you got Claude Cherilus, who I guess is also a veteran, but he's been around the block, or he's been around a whole bunch of teams. This is only his second season in Carolina. And you got Bam Martin Scott, an undrafted rookie. So 2 of those 4 guys are like very fresh in the NFL, and all 4 of them are fresh in the Carolina Panthers system. And so I would imagine this guy, Chris Barnes, who's played in a version of this Evero system back in Green Bay, I'd imagine that would be really helpful. But anyway, I digress. To your point, Cody, I think that the inside linebacker spot is a priority for the Panthers. Isaiah Simmons is interesting, is compelling. I don't know how you feel about this guy, Mark Robinson, out of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not to like, I haven't done any reporting on it, but just like looking at guys who are out there, he seems to be compelling. Just really at this point, the waiver wire spot, like I am just most interested in people who have substantial playing experience, because you're not going to build a championship team from waiver wire guys. Like, you're going to do so in free agency and through the draft and through paying the guys who you develop. That's how that works. But if you're looking for depth guys, you're really looking for guys who have played. And, this guy Robinson has, obviously your Clemson guy certainly has. I don't know. That's where I'm at. I imagine that most NFL teams have 5 inside linebackers, because that position just gets beat up so much and there's so much attrition there. So, that's where I go first. I personally think the safety room is pretty solid. Xavier Woods played every single snap for the Panthers, on the defense for the Panthers last year. And so, this team has proven that they can do well, or that safeties can stay on the field. I really love all the safeties too that the Panthers have. I know some fans are a bit concerned about Nick Scott, but he's like this wonderful leader and a really good special teams player. So he'll be able to impact the game. So I'm a little bit higher on the safety room than I guess a lot of other people are, but I still think the Panthers are going to try to make waves at the inside linebacker room, maybe in the safety room. And then there's also this possibility of kicker out there too, which Ryan Fitzgerald is the team guy. He is the starter as of now because he's the only kicker on the team. But who knows? If Ben Sauls somehow falls to the Panthers, he was the kicker for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who had like a really great camp, but it's just behind Chris Boswell. If he falls to the 8th position, or to the 8th spot in the waiver wire, do the Panthers take him? We're all speculating at this point, but I think that could be interesting. So I don't know. Sorry for babbling on.
Awesome.
Can you make any sense of that rambling?
Yeah, no, that was actually a point. It was about to be my next question. Was this kicker, battle that we had, and Nick Fitzgerald came out on top, but that wasn't going to be my question. Do the Panthers trust him enough to be their kicker going forward, or do you think that they actually will sign someone? You kind of answered it, but I think that's a good point too. But yeah, go ahead on that. Then I want to ask about Lathan Ransom.
Okay. I just real quick, I think that he is an NFL kicker. Whether the team, and the team has said that they think that he's an NFL kicker. But they're always going to be evaluating, always going to be trying to level up at every position, like they say. I think the thing that they really love about this guy is that he has just a massive leg. He was
what
booming.
could he have done better either, Alex? Think about this. Is like, didn't he like ultimately perform well? Is like the real only knock that we've one of my fantasy football teams still to this day is named I Like Butker. And it goes back to the idea of just the fear of a young player. Is that the only thing? Like, I mean, did he like what did he not do to win his? I mean, he won his battle actually, but like, is it just the experience and the risk of a young buck?
I don't think I mean, these coaches they are looking at literally every single thing these kickers do, from every single kickoff rep, every single like practice kick that they take, not only just the ones in the games. The ones in the games are most important, and the 5 that they take every other practice is also very important. But, you know, there are just some things that coaches see that even the reporters who watch the entirety of practice also don't. So,
in your opinion, did he answer the call though?
In Alex's opinion, yes, he did.
Okay.
In my opinion, I think Panthers fans will be should be safe with this guy. The compelling thing about him is that he has a massive leg, and if there was a knock on Eddie Pinheiro, that was it. Was that he just, like, the Panthers just didn't feel comfortable kicking past 50 yards with him. I think that's a bit of a short change on Eddie. I thought he was actually like really, really, really good. Yes, he missed that kick against Atlanta, and that is part of his legacy in Carolina. But regardless,
he was overrated. He was overrated. And if any of us had on our tombstone, he had a massive leg written on it, we would all rest in peace.
Listen, there is I think somebody who's becoming a fan favorite in Lathan Ransom. That you know, he seems to have showed up in a very like old school way, almost, in the way that he practices, how he plays in preseason and the training camp. I mean, in the fan fest while we were there, he had that one shot that, you know, would have been a penalty, as the Dave Canales refers to. But he seems to be a guy who has a high motor, who is like really doing what he needs to do to make an impact on this team. How long do you think it's going to be before he is the starter on this team? How far into the season do you anticipate, or do you anticipate he's going to be taking reps behind the ones on this?
It's a great question. Dave Canales gave a rationale for why Nick Scott was starting games, because he'd earned it, because he was there, all these things. Oh, man, I don't want to make you know what? I'm just going to make a prediction. I think he is the starter week 1.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I mean, I probably shouldn't have said. Whatever.
No,
what are we doing
okay.
Yeah, we're having fun. Let's go.
But I just think that he's proven it, and he's because everyone said at the beginning of camp that Jimmy Horn was the steal of the draft. I think Lathan Ransom has proven that he's been the steal of the draft for the Panthers. And it's not just the interception that he had against the Steelers. It's not just him being mic'd up against the Houston Texans and being all fun and stuff. It's not just him having this hard-hitting reputation and then proving it in every joint practice and all these things. Like, he knows where he needs to be. He constantly is in that spot. And the most important thing that a safety can be is a sure tackler. And that's what he is. I personally think that Damani Richardson constantly gets overlooked. I think last year I thought he was the best tackler on the team. And people just didn't think that was worthy because the defense was so bad or whatever. But I truly think Damani's great. And for me to say that Lathan is worthy of a starting spot over Damani says a lot about him in Alex's eyes. Let's just say that right there. Also, it'll be interesting to see how this defense employs the safeties, because what if Trayvon Merrick is working at the nickel? What if he's essentially a glorified inside linebacker? Like, do you throw out another safety out there? Like, do you have 3 safeties playing on the field at the same time? I know it might seem strange, but that could be like a way to work. In which case, Lathan's going to see the field a lot. I think he's going to see the field a lot regardless. He was on all 4 special teams as well, which is important. But yeah, he's been really good. And he's going. If I have to give a prediction, I think he's going to be the starter week 1.
I think an overblown narrative in this on this Panther roster is that the safeties aren't fast enough. Right? I think that Morg, and I could be saying it's not right, and Ransom is like, I mean, sure, you don't have that rangy free safety that can, but I feel like in the scheme that they got zones that are going to cover, and I don't think that their coverage skills are going to be as much as a detriment as people believe.
I agree. Yeah. I think there's that clip that went around in one-on-ones where Jimmy Horn absolutely smoked Trayvon. I don't know if you remember that one. That made the rounds, and people were like, "Oh my gosh," like whatever. I think that was just one route. I think the rest. I think that this secondary is a lot better than people think it is, and I think the Panthers front office thinks that too. So
yeah.
So, Alex, leave it to me to bring it back around to my boy Hunter Renfrow. He is
Can I just say one thing? Can I just say one thing real quick?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
We are what, 30, 45 minutes into this podcast. Have we even uttered the name Bryce Young?
No.
Isn't it wonderful? It's almost kind of wonderful.
Ourselves on the back. We're doing a great job. My question about Renfrow is he is a vested veteran. So unless I'm incorrect here, he doesn't have to go through the wire process that everyone else does. He could, just sign to whatever practice squad he wants to. Should I just kill the hope now? Or could there be a return of Hunter Renfrow, almost similar, although different from what happened to Jalen Coker last year?
You do not have to kill that hope. In fact, another important factor in all this is because Hunter Renfrow is a vested veteran. If he was on the week 1 roster, his salary would actually have to be guaranteed according to NFL roster rules. Now, his 1-year deal, I don't have it off the top of my head, wasn't that expensive to begin with. But if you want to be this scrupulous front office, that could have been a factor in, okay, we can bring him on after week 1, or we can just keep him on the practice squad, promote him for week 1, and then sign him fully to week 2. If they were really trying to be like I don't know, cute about it.
Cap geniuses.
That said, you could have done the same thing for David Moore. So
right
there's that.
That's where I was thinking too, Alex, is like there's these people talking about how he could, you almost wonder if they had to have a conversation with these wide receivers and they were like, who's willing to go on the practice squad and not go on the waiver wire because you're invested.
That'd be so
right. But that's my point is like, why, if they really believe that Hunter Renfrow was a better wide receiver than David Moore, why was David Moore not given this treatment as opposed to Hunter Renfrow? It just doesn't make a tremendous amount of sense. So I agree. Yeah. Alex, continue. My apologies. It's such a great point.
No, I appreciate that. And also, if you want to continue down this point, David Moore has said publicly, hey, the only head coach of the NFL I want to play for is Dave Canales. That's my guy. He's the guy I believe in, all these things. So that's why we all thought, okay, well, if anyone from this receiver room was going to leave and come back really willingly, it would be David Moore. So I don't know, man. There is that possibility, Cody, but I do think that there is also a heavy possibility that Hunter Renfrow just won't be back in Carolina, and another team will be like, "Yo, this guy is."
He's going to be on Kansas City and he's going to win a fucking Super Bowl probably.
Dude, Tony, you think he's getting past the Minnesota Vikings Like, you think the Vikings are going to 100%?
I think that San Francisco needs a wide receiver. I'm still more just in awe about this. I don't know if it's a compliment. What's a bigger compliment that we have not mentioned Bryce Young or Cam Newton so far?
Every team is better. Every team is better with the presence of a Hunter Renfrow. I don't give a damn what anyone says. I'm still mad about this, but he will probably be picked up somewhere.
All comes back
like
to
Minnesota
teams.
That's a good point. Special teams utility is very important. But
and
like
David Moore is not bad, bro. That's the other thing that we have to if you're excited about Hunter Renfrow and that 1,100 catches, the 1,000 yards, the comeback story, all of this. But let's not forget that David Moore has made it in the league for like a decade now almost. He's been around, he makes rosters,
connections with Bryce
big
already.
Ass plays for us last year. You can show me this one play he had where he had a drop last year, but he plays, man. He shows up. He's kind of like a Coker type player where it's just like they get shit done.
He was a big part of Bryce Young and his resurgence towards the back half of the year last year. Yeah. No matter what anybody wants to say, Coker went down. Thielen was out, for a bit. Maybe he wasn't out when Bryce came back, but there's nonetheless, when you look at that, some of the most important catches that were made on third downs on those gotta have it drives, they weren't a lot easy either. Like, there were some difficult ones that actually happened. So yeah, absolutely, it's 100%. David Moore and the connection with Bryce Young is still as valuable, I think, as maybe something even with an Adam Thielen.
Couldn't agree with you more, CK. He was a lot better than a lot of people gave him credit for, I think.
Yeah.
I also understand the fans' perspective too. Like, you're trying to give more, you're trying to give space for this young talent to thrive. It's such an interesting balance. Like, the team needs veteran leadership that can develop these wide receivers. Well, the team keeps collecting young wide receivers, so they should eventually use them and develop them in the game. Like, it's an interesting balance. David Moore is, I think at the end of the day, David Moore is Dave Canales' guy. He plays special teams. He's a sure-handed catcher. He's a sure-handed catcher when the team really just needs to secure a punt return and not just do a fair catch. Dave Canales is putting David Moore back there. He's just like this reliable dude. And I think I think that this team needs that.
The epitome of a journeyman. I put it in the chat, but I'm going to ask it, Cody. Alex, if you were the host of this podcast, which your podcast drops now on Thursday because of how much work I saw Mike K put it out, and Mike's got kids that are going to school for the first week. He's busted. He got little babies, man. I know that. My youngest is 12 now. If you were the host of this podcast, what would be the question you would ask about Bryce to your guest?
I would say, I would ask something to the effect of, did he get enough time in the preseason? Because I think that is the truth. I think that is the ultimate question that hasn't yet been answered, and that you can actually have a point on. Because, and I kind of want to hear y'all's thoughts on this.
Oh, CK's got a big opinion on this.
Okay, great. The Panthers made this big deal. Okay, we're playing the starters in the preseason. They go out in the first game. Dave Canales says, okay, we want to get 8 to 12 plays, whether that be one, preferably it'd be one long drive, but it could be two if one is kind of short and the other is
which it was.
Whatever, which it was in the first game. Then in the second game, it's just 2 3-and-outs, and they were expecting to play more, and then they get pulled out after, and then when asked about it after the game, Dave said, yeah, they didn't earn a third drive. That's a bit confusing.
I guess they didn't earn a start either.
Well, it's just a bit confusing, and Joe Burrow said this. I don't exactly know on what platform, but Joe Burrow said, yeah, joint practices are great because you have these like individual drills and you like, and you get to like really workshop and hone things with your players in like a relatively controlled environment, but it's still really competitive. But in the game, like you are going to get hit if you don't get the ball out in time. In the game, like there are true consequences to an interception. Like you don't get a rep back to immediately rinse and repeat. You know what I'm saying? Like there are true consequences to your shortcomings or whatever. And you also get to like the rushers take different lines to attack you. There's just like all these things
more organic.
Like it's like real football.
Yeah.
And if you don't hammer that home, like what like how do you expect the team to be sharp from the beginning? Everyone thinks, oh, the only important part of preseason is get your tackling down, get your coverage down, you get to build chemistry. No, it's like massively important for the quarterbacks. Unless if you're like, I don't know, an Aaron Rodgers who's been in the league for
right. Yeah.
Well, but on top of that, you also have guys like Patrick Mahomes playing deep into the third preseason game. So there are a bunch of other teams that will play their starters deep into it too. And then when you see the Panthers just not, Alex, everybody hates my opinion on this. I would never play any of the starters in preseason. Like I hear the point that you just made, but like especially when you look at how they handled it,
the stupidest thing I ever heard.
I hear this all the time, but dude, the reps that they actually got in this preseason were negligible anyway. Like, are you going to tell me that those two drives actually did anything for Bryce Young in that second game versus so that leads to my point. Like, I don't even understand why you play him if you're not even going to play them enough to get meaningful reps.
That's two separate issues. Like, that's two problems, right? You're so what you're stating with one opinion is that you don't think you should play starters at all. Right.
No. And other teams have done it.
Right. But there's a lot that haven't. And I think there's a lot of evidence that shows that teams start slower when they do have no starters play in the preseason. Right. And case in point, let's look what happened last year with Bryce Young. He's benched after 2 games because he could not get any type of rhythm going. I think that's not a coincidence that him not playing barely any preseason last year is the reason why potentially he's in a situation where he gets benched and he comes back and then he's able to start to kind of play himself into a really good position, right? So I disagree with that. Now, I do agree wholeheartedly. What's the point of playing the starters at all if you're only going to run 2 drives on both of those first and second
plays?
Remember there was like, it used to be a dress rehearsal, right? Like there used to be a kind of a consensus across the entire NFL that especially when there's 4 preseason games, one of those games, your starters are playing a full half, not 1 drive, not 2 drives, not a quarter, an entire half. And sometimes they would play into the third quarter as well. So like, this idea, to answer your question, Alex, the idea that we are believing that our team is prepared enough to be able to go into the season having only played starters for 2 drives out of 2 games is, especially coming off of a season where there was a tremendous amount of volatility in this offense. Even though it may have been not the weakest link, it certainly was a concern last year. And then you add the fact that the defense is still a question mark, even within the preseason. Like he says that the confusion is absolutely there for me as well, Alex. Like, how do you put yourself how do you believe that you didn't earn a drive? That should be the opposite. I think you should have to earn your way off of the field. Like, in my mind, until I see that you're ready, you shouldn't be removed from the game because you have no right to be.
Cody, my answer to this too is that I think you're wrong. I think you're right and wrong. I think you're right and you shit or get off the pot. Right? Is like, what is the benefit of playing Derek Brown in 1 snap? Right? I mean, it's 1 snap. What, you just want to get his jersey dirty or something to this effect? I think that I don't know what the answer, and I don't think anybody knows the solution to any of this. It's just what anybody does is, but I'm with CK is like, you play. I would almost just play them for a significant amount of time in one game only. And what I like about what Alex has said is I don't think that the preseason is about getting your tackling down. I don't believe in these joint practices as being as cool as they say. It's so scripted. I think the benefit of playing anything, and I think what the preseason could do, is that you get in positions that you're uncomfortable with, that you didn't script in practice, that you didn't go, oh, it's 3rd and 9 and we're on the 30 and this is what we do. This is what we do. The clock's ticking. Things are happening. Things didn't go like you had planned for them. They went better than you expected. There's an organic nature to it. And that what you're learning is football situations you've had classroom learning about, but now you are trying to apply those things in real time where the play clock is clicking, where people are subbing in and out, where the coaches didn't just say, oh, wait, stop. You're not running back, and doing this thing. I think the answer to your question, I think, Cody, you make a fair point, is that playing them nominally is not beneficial. But I think I would just committed. And in fact, if I was a coach, I would just say, this is the game where we're going to go out. You're going to play a quarter no matter what. We got a full quarter or a full half. But this whole idea, because then it creates this whole universe too for fans where it's like, oh, well, we went out there and they went 3 and out. We didn't plan to go a second drive, but now because we went 3 and out, we're going to go back out there. We went out there, we went 3 and out. Now it was so good, we take them out. I just say, get some good experience, not experience, but just play simulation as close as you can get to a meaningful game. And I just don't think that practice can do that. I think it can get close to it at times, but I just shit or get off the pot. So Cody, I agree with everybody in a sense, but what is Derek Brown playing one snap helping?
Yeah, it might as well not even happen.
So either do it or don't.
How Canales would answer that is that Derek Brown playing one snap is beneficial because he has a pre-game nightly routine that he has to get through. He has to be prepared and go through a routine to play football the next day. He has to do the thing before the game. I can hear the eye rolls from across the room, but this is literally what Dave Canales says. And then there's also this other thing that should be noted, that offensive play callers don't want to call interesting things in the preseason. And when you only have so much of the playbook to work with, they're not going to they're not just going to have these starters go through these things. I'm saying that all this to say that I still agree that the Panthers should actually play some meaningful football in the preseason, because other great teams have done it. Other great quarterbacks do it on a regular basis. This team needs to prove that it's ready from week 1, because if they're going to try to make it out of the winless doldrums, they got to capitalize at the beginning part of the year.
And they got to prove it to themselves, Alex. And I know that I'm sorry we've taken so much of your time. You brought this up though. And when it comes to this vanilla, that's what we hear is, oh, it's a vanilla offense. It's a vanilla defense. Then you get this added layer too, that the play callers aren't even the play callers. We had that whole story about we want to get Kidzik to get this experience and this and that. What my question, I guess, would be this is, we use those arguments, or at least it might, I don't even know if it's a question or more of a point. We use those arguments that it's a vanilla offense, it's a vanilla defense, when we don't do well. So why is it that these teams that are also in theory running vanilla offenses and vanilla defenses are having more success or less success? Is there real? I mean, I know that's a real thing. You're not going to show your hand. You're not really doing everything, but aren't you kind of trying to call plays that make a difference in the preseason. Like, it might not be the most intricate play design ever or whatever, but like, you're not just going to be like, oh, it's 3rd and 9, run it up the middle. Should we, and just as a fan, and I know this is long-winded and circuitous, but that vanilla discussion seems to always be injected when it's helpful. It's like, oh, well, Shador played against this. Well, we played against their threes and we didn't do jack. But it was our play calling. So at what point do we just cancel the preseason then? Do you actually, does that, where is there a middle ground? Do you believe that the vanilla, like all of a sudden that the Panthers are just going to be like, oh, well, we're going to just draw up plays that are so much cooler than everybody else in week 3 when we can't just run the ball up the middle? And I'm not saying they were bad, but like that to me says the preseason kind of does matter. Go out there, put a hat on a hat, make a block and make a play.
Yeah. I don't know, man. This is just, I think these are the conversations that are truly going on in coaching rooms across the NFL, in front offices across the NFL. I don't think that this is, if there was a proper way to do it, then every team would do it that way. If there was a proper way to do it, then Dave Canales wouldn't have changed his tune in starting in playing his starters for part of the preseason from year 1 to year 2. Because as you remember, the starting offense played exactly 1 series last year in the preseason. I think these are just valuable questions. And do I also think that the vanilla play calling argument for why the Panthers went 0-3 in the preseason this year, do I also think that that's hollow? Yes, I do.
Thank you. God. Thank you.
I mean, if you want me to validate you, you could have just said that.
No, I don't want validation. It just feels like it's an excuse.
No,
that's what I feel like. It's always an excuse. And I'm not saying that is that you can't do that. And I'm not a person that believes that because we didn't perform exceptionally or something or winning games in the preseason, that really changes my trajectory of the team. I just don't really feel like it's like, it just feels, God, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just convenient, and that's not the word I'm looking for. It's just like, oh well, when this doesn't go our way, it's vanilla. But if the Panthers would have smoked somebody and shut down their team, they wouldn't have gone, well, that was vanilla offense and our defense. We've been celebrating these moments. So I just think that is at what point it does it become something that you're really gaining? And I don't know if there's not an answer to it, right? There is certainly not an answer to it, but I just don't buy if we're running a vanilla offense, they're running a vanilla defense. And at what point do you just get a first down?
I mean, bro, this is right. This is exactly the questions that you should be asking. Also, why are we talking so much crap about vanilla ice cream? You know what I'm saying?
Man, put some peanuts on it. It's pretty sweet.
Put some Oreo cookies in it, and it tastes great. It's a classic. Whatever. I
know, man. Just run the football and
just prove that you're tough on the line of scrimmage. If you win, if the offensive line and the defensive line wins the line of scrimmage, you're gonna gain yards, no matter what flavor of offense you're calling. That's just how it goes. So I completely feel your point.
All right,
Tony, I lied to you. I have one more super fast question. Corey Thornton, does he play any meaningful snaps for the Carolina Panthers this year? He's been another fan favorite. He came on strong in training camp. What do you make of Corey Thornton being on this team, and can he do something this year for the Panthers?
Absolutely, without a doubt. My colleague Mike Kay called him just a slightly slower JC Horn. That's a massive
love that
endorsement. look at this cornerback room. You got J.C. Horn, Mike Jackson, Shaw Smith-Wade, and Corey Thornton, and a Caleb Evans. That means like if Shaw Smith-Wade is going to be that nickel corner occasionally, I know I just glowed about how versatile safety Trayvon Merrick is, but if you put Shaw at the nickel spot or at nickel corner with those other two guys, that means Corey Thornton is one player away, not necessarily one injury away, but like one substitute away from getting meaningful reps in like a real game. And he's everywhere. He's lining like all of training camp. He was lining up against the Panthers' best players, lining up across from T-Mac, lining up across from Xavier Legette. He's big. It's exactly what this front office wants in a cornerback. I don't exactly know his dimensions off the top of my head, but he's like over 6 foot. He's had a whole bunch of pass breakups this car. I mean, I'm just talking in circles. Yes, he's going to be he's going to make a meaningful impact this year.
Awesome.
And it's going to be relatively quick too, because like they're going to need him.
Cody,
awesome.
Give him an out. We took his whole night up. Thank you so much.
Dude, Alex, you're the man. Like I said earlier, dude, like I said, you're an honorary member of the C3 Legion at this point, brother. You're awesome. Your insights are always great. The fans appreciate it a ton. I know we certainly do. Tell fans where they can find you and your podcast with Mike K, and where they can find
the fucking Observer.
Tell them where they can find the great work you do for the Charlotte Observer.
And also, you can subscribe to it, and then you can pay a little price, and then you can call them, and they will reduce it. So don't worry, you're gonna get more for your money than you know.
Okay, great. On that note,
we gotta keep journalism alive, dude.
No, Tony, it is a good point. I appreciate any subscriber who puts in effort to maintain their subscription. That does mean truly a lot. So no, that's a really good point. I was just making a silly joke. But yes, follow the Charlotte Observer, charlotteobserver.com. You can follow me on Twitter or X or whatever you're trying to call it, at Alex ZIETLOW05. I also am trying to do this thing on TikTok, which is mad interesting. I just started it 2 weeks ago. You can follow me there at Alex Panthers. Okay. I'm still workshopping the name. I don't know how great that is, but you can follow me there as well. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for having me on the show. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. I do get a bit self-conscious sometimes. Hopefully I'm not just rambling and being
not at all
boring.
Awesome insights, man.
This has been really fun, and y'all do a great job.
And you keep pounding them, man. You make your copies, you do that. We read it, we appreciate it. It really is important. It's been more important than ever. The beat writers do make the difference, man. I mean, it's really the case is that you guys are on the ground doing the real, doing the work and the insight, and we appreciate it. We do. And this is the platform, not our platform, but the people that are listening right now are the ones that follow that. They are the ones that are going to not argue, but are going to read. And I tell you, we do appreciate the work, and I do appreciate keep it alive. I know it's a slog. But guys, please go subscribe to the Observer. Keep journalism alive, and again, you will get your money's worth. I promise you. And if you don't get your money's worth, actually you will, but you can just be like, I'm gonna cancel, and they'll be like, we'll give it to you for $8. And they will call you. Don't worry, it's fine. It's it's the truth. I'm sorry, but it's if $14 is too much for 4 months, they'll give it to you for 8 after. Just do it. Pay the bills. He's got a mortgage to pay. He's got rent to pay. He's got to get to these games. And Alice, thank you so much for your time, man. We really appreciate it.
Guys, thank you so much again.
Awesome, Alex. Thank you, brother.